afternoon. Let's try again. Good afternoon. Hey, I'm Amanda Priest. I am the person that's been sending you all of the emails. All the emails, right? Lots of emails. I am the assistant director in the Scopes office. I am the person who takes care of all the clinical placements. This is Mrs. Rowe. Mrs. Rowe is the director in the Scopes office. She takes care of all of your evaluations, like junior, senior evaluations, suspensions.
And send a million emails.
And she sends a million emails as well, right? So it's just flooded inbox between the two of us, correct? So today we are going to talk about your level 1 clinical experience. And everyone in here should be enrolled in EDF 201/270, correct? If you're not, you're in the wrong spot. So we're going to talk about the do's and don'ts and the ins and outs of that. We are also going to talk about your full admission to our teacher education program, because right now you are all pre-teacher education. That's what you're listed as. And so we're going to talk about something, it's called ADME 4. Who's ever heard of that? And you're like, what does that even mean? That's what we're going to talk about today. Of what ADME 4 means and what it means to be fully admitted into our college. So, okay, so just to get started. All right, so we're going to talk about what the clinical experience is, the expectations for this clinical, how the placements work, the professionalism that is expected at the clinical experience, how you evaluate it, and then we will talk about live checks and the ADME 4 portfolio. Okay, so what is the level 1 clinical? Dr. Kinghorn and Dr. Corrigan may have touched on some things and talked to you about some things. You all are enrolled in one of their classes right now. It's a co-requisite with EDF 201. So during this clinical, you are observing in a content-specific classroom, which means if you are English Ed, you're going to be in an English classroom. If you're elementary, you're going to be in an elementary classroom, etc. And during this clinical, you write a case study, correct, on a student. And I'm sure he has talked to you a little bit about that. And we'll talk maybe a little bit more about how that is all going to work too. You're going to observe during this clinical. You're going to work with individual students in small groups, and you can assist the teacher, but there's no planning or teaching. So let me just stop right there and say this. If you are in this clinical experience and you're observing and the teacher asks you to give a student a spelling test, or can you read this book with this student, or can you assist them with this project, please do not say, I'm only here to observe. It's happened. All the little anecdotes I'm going to tell you today are real true stories. Please don't say that, because you're not just there to observe. You're there to assist and help and work with the teacher. This is your first real classroom experience for College of Ed students. A few of you may have had a smaller 15-hour clinical prior to this for like an elementary reading class or something like that. But this is your first major clinical experience. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about today is your professional conduct in the classroom. So we expect the following professional considerations when you are visiting a classroom. That's one thing I want you to always remember. You're a visitor in this classroom. These teachers aren't paid to allow you to come into their classroom. They allow you to come into their classroom because they want to be good mentors to you. So we expect certain professional courtesies and considerations while you're there. So the first one is to follow all the school rules and expectations for teachers. So it says this includes teacher schedule and duties. I use this for our other clinicals as well. But if you're there during the teacher's duty time, playground duty, don't just sit in the classroom. Go outside with them on the playground. Or if you are there in between classes and they step out in the hallway and do a duty in the hallway for like a secondary, just step out there with them. It's not a big deal. You need to follow all the school rules. That means if like teachers don't chew gum or students don't chew gum, don't chew gum. If teachers aren't supposed to bring in like drinks, and some secondary schools are pretty strict about this, then don't do that. Okay, just follow all of those school rules. You need to communicate with your cooperating teacher and other teachers as professionals. You may know someone personally in the building. Please never call them by their first name, especially even like especially the administrator, but another teacher. If you notice when I introduce myself, how did I refer to her? This is right? Because we are professional colleagues in a professional setting, okay? So never use first names to address other teachers or professionals in the building. Need to keep an open mind when you're working with teachers who may have differing philosophies. Right now you're just beginning, and so you think you want to be a teacher, right? Everybody, I hope so. I hope everybody thinks they do. Now, I will say this, after this clinical, you may change your mind. And that's okay. It happens. Because you may have this picture perfect idea of what a classroom really is all about. And when you go out, it may be very different than what your expectations are. However, I want you to keep an open mind because you're going to learn something no matter what. One thing that's very important is that we maintain confidentiality at all times. You are never to leave a school and discuss anything that's happened or anything that you've seen with like other students or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or anybody like that. If there is something that really bothers you and you feel like you need to talk to someone about it, come see me, come see Mrs. Rose. We'll talk to you about it. Otherwise, you know, you're going to see situations where students are being disciplined. You're going to see students who are foster children, who may be removed from their homes, who may have, you know, lice or, you know, all kinds of different things happening. But we maintain that confidentiality. Understood. You need to stay positive. This is your first clinical. It's pretty exciting. And so this is a good taste into what a real classroom is. And if you go in it with just a negative outlook, or because let's say you didn't get placed where you thought you wanted to be placed or something like that, then it's just not going to be a great experience. And so you need to stay positive. You need to treat students as individuals with respect and fairness. Just always remember that you were a student once too, correct? And you can remember those people who were really kind to you, I'm sure, in classrooms, and you can remember those people who weren't. And so be one of those kind folks. You need to take advantage of all learning opportunities. If the students invite, like say, hey, are you going to the basketball game tonight? And you don't have anything to do, go to the basketball game. I mean, it makes their day. It's a big deal. If there's a professional development and your cooperating teacher invites you to attend it, let's say it's like an early release day or an out of school day, attend it, go. We have different situations like that every semester where a teacher will shoot me an email and say, hey, I think it would be a great idea if my student came to our faculty senate meeting. Is that okay with you? Yeah, it's great, okay? So just try to take advantage of those opportunities. Okay, so as a teacher candidate, you're expected to conduct yourself as a practicing professional educator, which means that you have the same ethical responsibilities and professional responsibilities, meaning that you need to follow the following rules. Okay, this is a major one. Phone usage. When I first came here, this really wasn't a big topic. I mean, 5.5 years ago. But since then, it's just slowly gotten a little bit worse, We all have a phone. Every single human in here, I'm sure, has a phone. Mine's laying right here. Notice I haven't been on it, texting while I'm talking to you, have I? No. Because it's a professional courtesy. It's a professional consideration. If you don't have to take your phone in with you, I would maybe not take it in with me. If you do take it in, it needs to be on silent. You need to not be texting. You need to not be talking, not that anybody talks on their phone. And you don't need to be scrolling while you're sitting there. We have had instances where students did not receive credit for this clinical because they took their phone and or laptop in and they were just on their phone or laptop the whole time when they were observing. I've had people plug in earbuds and just put their earbuds in the classroom. I had that happen once. Don't be on your phone. Don't have it out. Don't be on it. It's number one thing.
Even if the teacher in the classroom?
Yes. Because, back it up for a minute. You are a guest, right? Okay. They are a hired teacher. You are not a professional yet. You're on your way, but you're not hired yet. And you are, when we talk about dress code too, you know, you're going to see teachers who don't adhere to these rules. They're not my students. You all are, okay? So, your phone should always be kept on silent. You just shouldn't have it out. Okay, the first thing that you should do when you leave this orientation today is go to all your social media sites, Twitter, Facebook, Insta, Snap, whatever, and set everything to private, okay? Like hardcore private, nobody can get in there. Then I would maybe scroll through, go back the last few years. If you think anything is unacceptable or unprofessional, I would get rid of it on there. And then I would change my profile picture to, I don't want to say a professional profile picture, but I want to say an acceptable profile picture. Let me just tell you this. Okay, so let's say you're placed in a middle school or a high school, and the teacher introduces you. Oh, hi, this is Amanda Priest. She's going to be in our classroom for the next few weeks observing. What's the first thing the students do? Answer. What do they do?
Look you up.
They look you up. They got the phone out, they look you up, and they're friend requesting you immediately, okay? If you're in an elementary classroom, the teacher will probably send a little note home that says, oh, we have a student observer, Amanda Priest, and she will be with us for the next 7 weeks. And guess what the parents do? Look you up, okay? I'm a parent. I do it. I've looked people up before. I'm not gonna sit up here and say I haven't. Here's what needs to happen. Your profile picture needs to be one that if someone who was going to hire you looked you up, they would not look at it and be like, no thanks. Is that understood? I would just really refrain from having any alcohol pictures, making sure I was fully clothed in my picture. I could go on and on. If you have any questions about that, please come see me. Please come talk to me. Because we have had some situations with some different things like that. If you're already friends, let's say you go to a school and one of the kids in the class goes to your church or something, or lives in your neighborhood. And so you're already friends with them on social media or friends with their parents on social media. That's fine. You don't have to delete them, but you need to be aware that people are always looking at your stuff. Okay? Understood? Any questions about this? This is very, very, very important. After we have this orientation, and I have an orientation tomorrow with level 1s, I'll be sending out a lot of information to you, some links to some different things. One of the links is a social media policy that we have with the College of Ed. You will need to access it, read it, sign it, and submit it, okay? It just covers everybody. Make sure we're all on the same page with this.
Can I just add that
Please. Let me get back.
students, not everybody passes this clinical. I mean, it's not graded.
No.
You get credit or no credit.
Right.
But not everybody passes. And I would say the social media, cell phone usage is probably top 3
Oh,
of
yeah.
why students don't get credit.
Yeah.
So I know it kind of sounds trivial right now,
Right.
but it happens every single semester.
Yeah.
Every
And I know
single
some of these things I'm going to talk to you about, you're going to be thinking, why is she going over this? I know how to do, I know how to act, but some people don't. You know, and we have to talk about it. So this next one is one thing we have to talk about. It's the dress code. I sent you all an email, and it said our dress code for today is business casual. And I look around, and most people read that email and did that, and I appreciate that. It's just good practice. If I showed up in here wearing what I worked out in this morning, would you take me as seriously? Be honest, no, you wouldn't, would you? So that's how it's going to be for this when you're in the classroom. So you should dress business casual. You need to consider your grade level and consider your content. If you are going to be in a kindergarten, you don't need to have a short dress and high heels on, because you're going to probably be down on the floor. You're going to be crawling around with the kids and moving around, and so that probably wouldn't work. You need to differentiate yourself, however, if you're in a secondary classroom from the students, because some of you are just like a year older than some of the students you're going to be in the classroom with. And so if another adult walked in, they should know that you're a clinical student from Marshall, and we're going to show you how. So your dress should be business casual. We don't wear jeans every day. Some schools have special dress down days on Fridays. If you're there on a Friday and you've talked to your teacher and they tell you, oh, we wear jeans on Fridays, that's totally fine, then that's totally fine, not a problem. Otherwise, don't wear jeans, okay? Your clothing should appropriately cover your body. It should fit you, and it should be clean. If you, listen, I wear a lot of black and certain things, and I could probably wear the same pair of pants every day, and nobody would ever pay attention or know. And if you wear the same outfit when you go to these schools, that's fine. You don't need to go out and buy a whole new wardrobe and spend a lot of money. What you do need to ensure, though, is that it's clean and it's pressed or it's well kept. It's not wrinkled up, okay? You should be well groomed. And I know you're thinking, really? But we have this come up every semester. You need to be showered, wear deodorant, brush your teeth, comb your hair, don't get your clothes out of the dirty clothes anymore. I know. Tattoos and piercings, with the exception of like ear piercings, need to be covered up or taken out. If you do have, let's say, a nose piercing, you might take it out the first day, talk to your teacher about it, see what they think is acceptable, and then go from there. ID badges must be worn at all times. Everyone in here should have a clinical ID badge. Who has one? Nobody. They were supposed to put this in their syllabus. Okay, so here's where you need to go. This is important. Drinko Library, first floor. You walk in the main doors and you go straight back and you make a right, and there's the ID office, okay? It's $5 for a clinical ID badge.
And I have Tanya's in the list.
Okay, and yeah, please. I have mine actually in my purse because I was at a school this morning. It looks like this. Has your picture on it. It will identify you with your name, and it will say College of Education teacher candidate, okay? It has a little Marshall symbol on it. This will get you through, all the way through student teaching. This $5 badge will, okay? You can clip it on, you can wear it on a lanyard, whatever works. So if you are in a classroom, let's say you're in Huntington High, and the principal comes in, and he's getting on to the class, okay? And how is he gonna know you're a College of Ed student? Well, you're gonna be dressed nicer than everybody in the classroom, and you're gonna have that ID badge on, okay? Is that understood? So that is super important. I've got on here that wellness students should dress professionally appropriate for the class that they're in. If you're in a PE class observing, I think, khakis and sneakers and a nice shirt is fine. I don't think you need to go over the top with any of that. Does anybody have any questions about this? No? If you have a question that you don't want to ask in front of the crowd, see me after and we'll take care of that. All right. Next thing is attendance. So here are our top 3 things that people felt this clinical they don't get credit for. Social media / cell phone usage, dress code, attendance. Those are the 3 main things, okay? So I've got this on here and I want you to listen very closely. Right now, everybody should know this, that like the flu and strep and things like that are pretty rampant. And a lot of counties have even shut down recently. My kid, who's 13, who's never been sick in her life, had the flu. It's just one of those things. And kids are germy, okay? And schools are germy, and that's just part of it. So you could get sick. If you are sick, stay home. Stay home. Do not go. Now, on the flip side, you can't be sick once a week, okay? If you're sick, stay home. Fever, vomiting, etc. are considered contagious. You should know this. Absences that fall under university attendance policy are the only ones that are allowed, which are illness with doctor's excuse, death in the family, something to that effect. Also, it's inclement weather time. Most schools were closed last Friday for snow. If you have plans to attend your clinical and you wake up that morning and it's snowing, you need to check and make sure that your school is still open, okay? So you're gonna exchange contact information with your teachers, but it's still your responsibility to double check and make sure. You will just follow whatever county you're placed in, whatever they're doing. Let's say you're at Spring Valley High School and Wayne County's closed, then Spring Valley's closed, you won't go. Okay, professionalism expectations. Here's what's gonna happen. So when everyone receives their placement, they're gonna get their school and their teacher name and their teacher contact information. And it's your responsibility to contact your teacher and set up an observation schedule, okay? So let's say that you plan to be there Tuesday at 8 o'clock in the morning, okay? Then you need to be there Tuesday at 8. You actually need to be there at 7:50. Make sense? Don't show up at 8:15. Don't show up at 9 o'clock. Don't not show up at all. That's unacceptable, okay? You need to work with your teacher on a schedule. Don't just email your teacher and say, I'm gonna be there Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock without clearing that with them, okay? If you are gonna be tardy or absent, you have to notify the cooperating teacher. You have to let them know. they might be counting on you or expecting you, especially like in elementary, they may be counting on you to work with a small group that day or work with an individual student that day. And if you're not there and you just don't show up, then that sort of throws a wrench in everyone's plans. Because this clinical is flexible in the scheduling, and you schedule it around your classes and around the teacher's schedule, don't wait till the last minute, okay? I have told all of the schools that I've placed students at that the first day to start this clinical is February 18th, because most schools are closed on Monday, on the 17th. So February 18th, I've told them all. They're expecting to hear from you. So don't wait until mid-March and decide that's when you're going to email your teacher. It's unacceptable and it doesn't work that way. Don't wait until the last minute. I have so many people who will wait until spring break or after spring break and then say, I just haven't had a chance yet. Then you need to figure something out, okay?
Or you get no credit.
Or you get no
and
credit.
start all over the next semester.
Yeah, nobody wants to do that. Okay, so before you attend on the first day, you need to communicate with your cooperating teacher. So you're going to send them a friendly email. I am going to send these placements out. I'm going to begin sending them out probably on Thursday if you've met all the criteria that I'm expecting. I'll probably finish sending them out on Friday, hopefully. So when you send that friendly email, you're going to exchange your contact information. You're going to know what time to arrive. You need to ask where you should park. Don't just pull in anybody's space. You all know that teachers do not like that, right? Yeah. You also need to take a copy of your background check. Everyone in here should have a completed background check from Castle Branch or another company if you had an outside background check. And you just need to log in to Castle Branch and print that off. You need to have that on your person. Definitely the first day, but I would just keep a notebook and keep it with me, just in case it's asked for again. Most schools, when you take it in and present it to them, they'll make a copy of it and stick it in a file that they keep. Most of the schools we're using are professional development schools, PBS schools that we use often that are in the area. So they know the drill. They know how this works. But definitely I would just keep it. There are some schools who will not buzz you in the door until you hold that up. I'm not kidding. I had a student teacher turned away one time because she didn't have a copy of it with her. So those are really important things that you need to know. You need to arrive early. I would say 10 to 15 minutes early. Yes?
Do I like, okay, so obviously I am going to email my teacher, but do I have to email her and just talk to her about everything, or can I like go to the school and like talk to her face to face?
You can, but I wouldn't just show up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like
yeah.
should I like schedule, can I like schedule
Yeah.
time for her to?
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
You know, before I start this clinical, I'd really like to just sit down with you and get a little bit more information about what, you know, my expectations are and, you know, some different things. What's a good time that I could come in?
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a good way to work that. I think that's a good idea. So you need to arrive early. Like I said, if you're scheduled, you say you're going to be there Tuesday at 8, you need to get there about 10 to 15 minutes early. You need to check in at the office. All schools in Cabell County and all schools in Wayne County, you have to buzz in. Okay, you have to be buzzed in. When you are buzzed in, you need to have that ID badge on. They will say, can I help you? You need to say, I'm a so-and-so from Marshall University. I'm a clinical student here to see whoever the teacher is. They're expecting me. That's a good way to handle that. Have that background check ready. You need to check in at the office, introduce yourself to whoever's in the office. It might be the principal, might be the secretary, just whoever's there. You need to introduce yourself and they'll have you sign in. My husband was a principal for a long time, and one of his major pet peeves was when people would come into his building, either students or like substitute teachers, and they would just come in and sign in and not introduce themselves. It's unprofessional, okay? You want to make a good first impression. You need to greet your cooperating teacher. I think taking a thank you card is a nice touch on the first day. I mean, you know, they're obviously not getting anything for this, but if you would just write them a little thank you note, you know, thank you so much for hosting me in your classroom. I really appreciate it. That's it. I mean, how not? Listen, I was a teacher for a long time. Little things like that really do matter, okay? You need to be prepared to listen and learn. You need to take notes of scheduling, of seating arrangements, of the procedures, and just pay attention. Okay, So everyone in here, for the most part, responded to my many emails about placement requests, correct? Yes. And most of you were like, I have transportation, I'd like to be close to campus, but I can drive, it's not a problem, this and that. I'll just say this, I don't place people in crazy areas, okay? Like I don't place you an hour away if you say you have transportation. For the most part, students are placed in like secondary schools, Cabell Midland, Huntington High, Spring Valley, the local middle schools. That would be as far as, unless you made a special request to go somewhere else. Elementary schools are the same. We have some elementary schools in Wayne County that are on the Huntington end of Wayne County, like Buffalo Elementary, Lavalette Elementary, Kellogg Elementary, Sarita Cadova Elementary, and so I could have placed people there or nearby. If you said you didn't have transportation, if you said you need to be placed on the bus route, I took care of that as well, okay? Just know this, you may not have gotten the exact placement you asked for, but I worked with it, and I tried to accommodate you as best as I could. Throughout your career here in the College of Ed, we try to do a diversity of placements. That means we don't want you at the same school for every single thing. You need to see different schools and different teachers and learn different things. You would not believe how many students who didn't get placed where they thought they wanted to get placed and were placed somewhere else come back to me and say, thank you for doing that because I learned so much, or I really had a great experience, okay? If you have other clinical experiences this semester, CI 343, CISP 320, I think those are probably the only two. You're going to use the same placements. We'll use the same placement for that as we will for the level 1 placement. Okay. Okay, we'll stop here. Does anybody have any questions up to this point? And so if you do. Yes.
The email you sent us about our background check being on file with your office, is it something that we have to send to you?
No.
Okay.
As long as you ordered it through Castle Branch and you used that MB06 code, we access it electronically. So yeah, it just has to be on file electronically, which basically means if you ordered it, you use the code, we should have it. If you have not ordered that yet, you need to take care of it. I know that some people were a little frustrated that maybe they didn't know that they had that fee. It is $46 to order it. It is good for 1 year. Once you order it, you have to renew it to do clinical experiences, but then it's half, it's $23 to renew. And for the most part, you'll usually order it once, renew it once, and by that time, you've made it through and you're getting ready to do student teaching, and that's a different permit, okay? Any other questions? Good question, though. All right, so, has anyone in here ever used live text? You know what I'm talking about. I see some nods, I see some blank stares. Okay, so live text is this program that the College of Education uses to track our clinical experiences. Basically, our main clinicals, level 1, which is this one, your level 2, which is prior to student teaching, and then level 3, which is your student teaching, are all 3 tracked on live text with time logs and evaluations, okay? So, once you are registered for live text, is anybody in here not registered, who in here has no idea what I'm talking about? And that's okay, a few people, okay. So you're gonna get an email from Dr. Watson.
Should have already gotten one.
Should have already gotten one. Look in your trash folder, look in your junk folder, your spam folder. You should have gotten an email from the live text system or from Dr. George Watson regarding this and how to register. If you can't find that email, send me an email and I'll make a list and we'll get it sent out to you again, the invitation again. So you will register for live text and then you will have an account. You don't have to pay for it. It's included in your College of Ed fees. And it's good for, I think, 5 years. I want to say 5 years. And so what it does is it houses all of this clinical experience stuff, all of your field experiences. Also, you'll have to submit some different work, like you'll have to submit your case study into live text. You have to submit different things into the program. So everybody needs to have a live text account. That's the number one thing. So if you don't have that, go through your email, double check it, let me know if you still can't find it. Once your placement is entered in live text, and I will send you an email with specific directions on how to locate this. You will click on a tab called Field Experience, and your placement will show up, and you'll click View Placement. And there will be a box, and it will be a time log. It's an electronic time log. You just log your time in there that you were in the classroom. Now let me say this. Do not exaggerate your time, because teachers will tell us and they will not check off. Okay? Do not exaggerate. If you were there 2 hours and you were there 2.5 hours, they know how long you were there. They will not sign off on it. And then it causes a lot of trouble, and then you usually don't get credit. So be very precise with your time log, okay? So not only do you have this account, but all of our cooperating teachers will also have an account. And so they're linked to yours. So they will open up their account, they click on it, they see their students, and that is how they will check off your time and complete your evaluation for the clinical. It's a short evaluation. Are there 10 questions, 12 questions, something like that? Basically, it goes over schedule, appearance, can't think of the other things right off the top of my head. Commitments. Like if you come in there and you scroll on your phone the whole time and you don't engage with the students, or you come in and you turn your back to the students, do you seem to be committed to the profession? No. So you are going to be ranked as an unsatisfactory on that, and then you will not receive credit. So on that evaluation, let me go through here, next slide. Okay, so credit for the clinical. You have to have all of this time logged by April 24th. Okay, that's the very last date that we will accept any of this, April 24th. By April 24th, you need to have 35 hours completed. Your teacher has logged on and approved that time, and they have completed the evaluation. You cannot receive any unsatisfactory markings on the evaluation. If you receive one unsatisfactory marking, you will be receiving no credit for the clinical experience. And that is not fun. That is not a fun conversation to have, okay? So you really need to be on top of this. I'm going to start checking for the time logs on, let's say, April 1st. And if I log on April 1st and you've not logged any time, we're going to have a conversation. Understood? Because it's just, then you're running into, you're too late. You're not going to get it done. Once you do finish your 35 hours though, shoot me an email and just let me know, because that gives me an opportunity to just mark you on a list to where when we start checking for credit, because listen, it is a process, and we check them and we check them, and it takes up so much time because we want to make sure everybody gets credit that deserves credit. You see what I'm saying? And so there's 96 students in this clinical. And when we go back through for 96 students, it takes a while. So if you just let me know you finished that, I'll be on the lookout to check yours, and once you're checked, you're off the list. Okay? All right.
Can I just add?
Yes, please. Sorry. I'm getting ready to push this over onto you anyway, so.
I will just say you should log your time daily. So every day that you go.
Yeah.
Don't try to keep it in a notebook somewhere
Right.
and wait till the end of the
Yeah.
placement and try to go back and remember, because the teachers, well, I'd like to say the teachers won't remember, but
Right.
they will, because they're
Yeah.
probably marking it someplace too.
Right.
But just
And
take a minute.
And you're going to get that hateful email from me that says, as of April 1st, you have logged 0 hours. What's your problem? You know, what's going on? So if you'll just keep up with it, it makes it just easier on everybody, for sure. All right. Ms. Gray, would you like to talk about ADME4? Yes.
It's so hot in here.
It is hot in here.
Roasting. Did everybody get an email about applying for ADME 4 status? Yes. Before you can take like EDF 201 and 270, one other course. You won't be able to take any other course in the professional education list until you have ADME 4 status. And one of the pieces to ADME 4 is the portfolio in live text. So anybody who wants to open up that portfolio, and you haven't already emailed me, I want you to come and sign this when we're finished, when
Right.
Ms. Priest is finished. Now, you do not have to apply this semester. We're not saying you have to apply this semester. You want to apply when you know you've met all of the requirements. So the requirements should be listed up there. Successful completion of this course and clinical, EDF 201 and 270. You have to have an overall and Marshall GPA of at least a 2.8. You have to do all of the pieces of the portfolio, which if you don't know, it's a writing sample, 3 recommendations, and a self-assessment. It is not that difficult. A lot of people panic when they see portfolio. It's really not. Self-assessment can be done in less than 3 minutes.
Yeah.
The writing sample, like I said, it's 500 words or less. And then the biggie, you have to pass all 3 parts of the praxis. Now, if you apply to do the portfolio this semester, it's due by March 1st, right? Or April 1st?
March 1st.
March 1st. That does not mean you have to have the praxis core completed by March 1st. We will shut the portfolio down on March 1st. So all you have to have finished by March 1st is the self-assessment, the writing sample, and the recommendations. A lot of people get
They
confused
do.
about,
This is always confusion because they're like, well, how can I do that? Because the course isn't over. Yeah, you can't pass EDF 201 by March 1st because you're in it, right? You can't get credit for the clinical yet because you're in it. And so you don't have to have the praxis passed until the end of the semester, correct? Yeah.
so if you don't think you're going to take the praxis till fall semester, don't do the portfolio this semester.
No.
Do the portfolio if you think you're going to take and pass praxis core. If you have a 2.0 GPA, don't do the portfolio this semester because unless you can get to a 2.8, you're not going to be admitted.
Right.
So, yes, we encourage everyone to do the portfolio this semester that they do 270 and 201. But you do not have to unless you think you can meet all the requirements. And once you submit that portfolio, and let's say you have every intention of taking and passing the praxis and you don't get it passed and you have to take it in the fall, your portfolio remains. You don't have to do it over. Once you pass that writing sample, once we get those 3 recommendations, they don't go away. They're saved in live text. But a lot of students struggle with that submission date, that
Yeah.
due date of March 1st. You do not have to have all praxis core finished by March 1st. But you cannot register for ADME 4 courses until you've met all of the requirements of ADME 4. Is that clear as mud?
I know, it's a
Sorry.
little confusing.
It's confusing.
So one thing that you might do is look at your curriculum sheet, see what classes remain. You know, if you have taken all of your core classes and all of the classes you can take at the top, and then all you have remaining are pro-ed classes, you need to be able to get into ADME 4. Does that make sense? Okay.
And I know we have all kinds of people advising. We have different majors, we have different advisors maybe saying different things. What we really want is for you guys to get into ADME 4 as soon as you can and take some of those classroom management
Yes.
courses, assessment courses while you're in the classroom, while you're doing your clinical experiences. That way it's easier for you to understand. You get it. You don't have to
Right.
finish, the core 1, core 2. You don't have to finish the content before you start those education courses. That's not the way it's built.
Right.
We want you to mix and match and take those together and take them at the same time.
And what ends up happening all too often is people wait, they're not able to get in, and then they have to take all of those at one time instead of being able to sprinkle them throughout. Okay.
Questions? I know there's got to be some questions.
Yes.
The recommendations, are those like professors we had, or is it like outside teachers?
There's 3 recommendations. One has to be a Marshall professor that you've had for class. The other 2 need to be, they can be former principals, teachers, Anyone who's really seen you around children and can attest to your personality.
Yeah, work with
And
kids.
it's
that's
literally, so we're not asking for recommendation letters.
No.
It will be a link you receive that you will send to 3 different people. And they just click on that link and it is a very small
Oh, yeah.
assessment. It's nothing that, they're not gonna have to spend a half an hour
I've
writing a
completed
letter.
multiple ones for students and it takes about 2 minutes.
And when you
2
hit,
minutes.
when that person hits submit, it goes straight to your portfolio. So all you have to do is send out the email.
Yeah.
Now, what I would do is send an email prior saying, hey, I have to have these recommendations to get it fully admitted into the program. Do you care to fill out this recommendation for me? It's going to be an odd looking link. It's not
Yeah.
spam. Please trust it and ask before you send it, because a lot of times people will get that and not have any idea what it is.
Yes.
Do the people that we need the recommendations from, do they have to, like the professor, do they have to be one that actually knows us a little bit? Because I don't have.
You just have had to have, you've had to be in their classroom.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Mhm.
So when I was scheduling for my courses, I was told that now if you like score so high on the ACT or SAT, you don't have to take this praxis. Is that true?
That
Yes.
is true. 26,
At
correct.
26.
26 or higher.
And I'm going to say something that I may regret. Policy 5202 is out for comment right now, and that number may change.
Right.
So if you have a 25 composite, you might want to check with me before you take the praxis course. 26 is already approved. If you have a 26 composite, you are waived from taking the praxis. There's some other things in place right now that the State Department is doing, but it has not been fully approved. But if you have questions about that, I'll be glad to answer any questions about the praxis course.
Anyone else? Yes.
This is back to what you said a little while ago, but I don't remember receiving an email about placement.
Okay.
And
You might have been, did you register late for the class or?
I registered very close to, yes, I actually did register late for
Okay,
class.
that could be the problem.
Okay.
So, you can send me an email after this. I'm gonna display my email address and just follow up, if you have a request. And then I can go back and check and see where I've got you placed. I think I have, 5 people, maybe 5 placements left to make, and that's all. I've got all the others finished, and I can still move people around. That's not a problem. Okay, no problem. Anyone else? Yes.
For the writing sample, do you give it the prompt, or does it have to be full paper?
Yes.
It's a prompt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Will this information be sent out again in the PowerPoint like what we need? to
Yeah,
do?
actually, I'm gonna send this PowerPoint to you
Okay.
initially. Yeah. Sound good? Along with a few other things. Okay, so just things to remember, with this clinical. I would look at this almost like as a semester-long job interview. You would not believe how often people who got for the level 1 clinical really click with their teacher, and the teacher will say, oh my gosh, I would love to have you back for student teaching. Even though I can't have you, I'm gonna tell my friend so-and-so that works at this school, and maybe they will get you for student teaching. You see what I'm saying? Or like a principal, let's say you're at one school and then that principal leaves and they're at another school, and then when I send a request, they're like, oh yeah, I remember that person, they were great. Okay, so just remember, you're building relationships all of the time. The teacher that I did my level 2 clinical experience with teaches at Southside Elementary. She has one of our student teachers right now, and I'm their supervisor. And I've kept up with her and known her for, 17 years now. So that's just how you build these relationships, these professional relationships. It's really important. You need to understand that everything's a learning experience. It may not be great. This experience may show you that maybe this is not what you want to do, and that's okay. I know people are probably thinking, I can't believe she just said that. But we do. We do not want anyone to go through our program and not truly want to do this. Understood? Okay. And just have fun with it. Just learn from it and have fun with it. This is my contact information. I am gonna send this PowerPoint out tomorrow, after tomorrow's orientation. Everyone will get this. Everyone will get a link to our social media policy that I am expecting to be sent back to me. You can scan that and send it back, or you can snap a photo of it and send it to me in an email, but do not print that out and sign it and bring it to me. Do not bring me paper, okay? Because I do not have room for that. Any other questions for the good of the group?
Make sure that you sign in,
Yes.
because that's one of the requirements before we can release your placement.
Yeah.
And then if you haven't requested that your Academy 4 portfolio be open and you want it, please sign in here.
Otherwise, you're free to go. Thank you all for attending.